You should now be able to see a Sage 200 screen in front of you, and accompanying that I also have the mobile version of CRM. So if I just take you back to the front screen, you'll see that there's a Sicon CRM icon sitting on my mobile phone, and therefore we can get in and have a look and see at that. And I also have, of course I do, what drives it inside of Sage. So Sicon CRM sitting over here, and I also have the browser version switched on as well. All three things are a version of the same truth. It's completely live. That is powerful, because it means that your prospects and their employees would therefore be able to access core Sage data without being inside of Sage. They don't need a Sage license to be able to do lots of the things that I'm going to be doing today. So we're just going to minimize that out the way, and I'm going to take you back into CRM. And we're just going to talk about what CRM is for us. Companies, people, opportunities, tasks, cases, and campaigns. All of those things can be managed using the Sicon CRM utility. There are a number of dashboards and an element of reporting in here, and we also increase what we do by way of enabling people to go through a particular process by creating workflows for those things as well. So there's an element of all of those. Each individual user that has CRM would actually be able to access the system via all three mediums. If you're a Sage user, you get the Sage version, you get the browser version, you get the mobile version. If you're not a Sage user, you'd be able to access it via the browser or via mobile. There are three different types of users: basic, intermediate, and advanced. Your basic user will be able to look at companies, people, and tasks. Your intermediate user, which is by far the most common, is companies, people, opportunities, tasks, and cases. And your advanced user will add an element of campaign management in there. So there's links to MailChimp, so you can create an audience for marketing purposes. Inside of what we do in here, we also have your employees. So when I go in to maintain my employees, this is going to determine for me what I allow each user to be able to do. So we're just going to look at Michelle as a profile. And as you can see, she has access to CRM at an advanced level. We also have the concept of territory management, which again, if you are a sales-driven organization, you might want your individuals to only be able to access data which is relevant to their territory. Therefore, I can assign a territory to an individual, and I can assign a territory to a company. And that means I can limit that person from only being able to see data that's relevant to that is in their territory. But territories do not have to be geographical. It could be territory 1, territory 2, territory 3. It could be A, B, C, but it could equally be territories by way of geographical regions. There is also, inside of our system, the ability for you to have the Sicon system admin, which allows me to be able to go in and set rules for individuals. So this is over and above what you have inside of Sage. This is the one that is very, very specific to Sicon CRM. From a role-based perspective or an employees-based perspective, we can determine what each individual is able to do and switch it on and switch it off for them. So a lot more control over what those individuals that have CRM licenses can do from a Sage perspective and can do from a CRM perspective. And then, of course, each individual, each employee is assigned to that role. But again, that's over and above what you get in standard Sage. For me, the most powerful thing about our CRM solution, our contact relationship management solution, is the ability for us to be able to see that core data integrally inside of Sage. I don't need to leave it. It's not a separate database. The very first time that you deploy CRM into Sage 200, you'll have the ability in here, in your companies and in your utilities, to migrate your Sage 200 contacts. That literally will take your purchase ledger and sales ledger and provide that within the CRM screens. It's one click of a button. It's super easy. There are also other utilities to be able to import companies, export companies, import addresses, import GDPR information, because we're going to layer pieces of functionality on top of what you would then have from your sales ledger, from your purchase ledger. And we're also going to be able to create entities which aren't sales ledger or purchase ledger driven. So things like prospect customers, prospect end users, suppliers that we don't necessarily engage with at the moment. So prospect suppliers can also be managed. So when there is a financial engagement, that's when they'll become a purchase ledger account. That's when they'll become a sales ledger account. Prior to that, we can still manage the communications and manage our activities right down to opportunities with those people that we need to be able to engage with. What we've tried to do with CRM is to give you something out of the box so that you're not having to reinvent the wheel, so that you're not having to start from scratch. So there's a number of drop-down boxes that we give you out of the box, but then you can configure them and add to them. Any good CRM solution is effectively something that you own by way of a business so that it can actually give you a reflection of your processes. So from our perspective, an opportunity doesn't have to stop at sale. An opportunity could be followed all the way through to sale, to production, to after sales and sign off. If you're a construction-based organisation, it may well be that it's 12 months after we've actually sold the property or the service that we've provided before our responsibility for that opportunity closes. So creating an environment where you can actually manage that all the way through is something that we've tried to do with our CRM solution. So again, I'm really keen on that side of things. The best place for me to be able to showcase that for you is if I look at our task management, which is the one that I'm very, very keen on. If I go in here and do a task search and I just find everything that relates to me, you'll see that I have tasks which are linked to various different things from Sage, and also various different things from Sicon. So from a task perspective, this particular one is not linked to anything at all. It's linked just to the company. This task is linked to a stock item, this one to a project, this one to an opportunity, this one to a sales order, this one to a quote, this one to a purchase order. So it's not all about sales. It is all about what I do inside of my core Sage to be able to provide me with an environment that I can say, I need somebody else to look at that. And I can do that in a very easy and efficient way and communicate to said person, even if they're not a Sage user. We're going to start with that little theory, okay, because this particular one here for 2020 signs, where I need to speak to Bruce Springsteen, is connected to a stock item. If I click on that little link, that'll actually open up the stock item for me. And we can see in here that what we do is add the CRM tasks and CRM cases to the stock record. So anybody from a procurement perspective, anybody that's kind of sitting there looking at your quality would be able to create one or multiple tasks that relate to that stock item, which I then have a history of. Just by itself, task management is a very cost-effective way of utilizing the Sicon CRM solution to provide you with a solution for that. So all of those are linked to my stock item, and I don't have to access it via CRM. I can be a core Sage user, go into the stock record, and I can see all of the tasks for all of the people that have happened in the past. Likewise with my cases, which are a collection of individual things that you do. So multiple tasks that I might want to give to different people, predominantly used around things like complaints maybe, or quality, where I need 2 or 3 people to look at it. I might want to store multiple communications, and I might want to initiate a new task to take place, or a new case to take place. If I do that from this screen, that's a standard Sage stock screen with CRM switched on. If I pop in here and just put in my test for Gary's always famous in here. Of course, because this is a stock item, it's not necessarily linked directly to a specific purchase ledger account, but that of course is then going to then enable me to select who it is that I need to speak to. I might have 1 or more suppliers for a single stock item. I might need to speak to a customer about that particular item, or it may be that I have a customer that I need to keep informed on the quality control, and I also have a supplier that I need to speak to, in which case multiple tasks for multiple things that I need to do against my stock item, or multiple tasks and multiple things that I need to manage in a case against my stock item, and creating a case will also give me the opportunity to have a case reference number and even an element of an SLA so that we can respond to our clients. So my tasks and my cases have memos and emails and attachments and tracking, a full history of everything that's gone on with that task. This little feature up here is actually very clever. That's your ability to be able to subscribe yourself to an activity. So if I subscribe myself to this task, I would then be able to see notifications of when, if I said, actually, I'd like Vince to pick this up and I schedule it for Vince to do, when Vince does something, it'll then go into the activity tab and I'll be notified if I subscribe myself or my team. Again, really quite powerful little pieces that are unsung and underused. So we're just going to put our test for Gary in there. We're going to say that we need to speak to our supplier at AB Cookers regarding this. The person is, of course, linked to the company, and that's all the way across the board, whether they're a sales ledger account or a supplier account. You'll be able to see your multiple companies. You can create a new person from here. So we create an environment that's easy. Of course, I can schedule it for a particular date. I can also give myself a reminder, which again will give me another notification. I can create a new email from here and we can create templates. I can create a tracking note. I'm just simply going to say save to that. And as you can see, because it's already in the past, because I set it for the now, it pops it in here in red for me. So anybody else looking at this stock item can see that Michelle's got something to do to speak to Joe Brown at AB Cookers about this item. And you can create follow-up tasks for that. You can create workflows for that. There's a stack of stuff that you can do off the back of it already out of the box. And we don't need to do anything further with that. Okay, so I'm literally just going to go through each of these places, because one of the others, which is key to our journey, is projects. So if you do have clients which are using projects, being able to create a task against a project is more than possible. And therefore, if I click my project, it will actually open up my project for me. And if again, I have one or many tasks that relate to that particular project, we'd be able to see them at project level. And we can action them, and then we can create new ones directly inside of projects. We're just going to pop ourselves back into CRM just to have a quick look at my company search in here. So I want you to see that all three elements, all three mediums for getting into this data are all reflecting exactly the same thing. So now when we find our company, you'll see that we have a full list of all of my suppliers and my customers, also things that I've created as end users, prospect customers. It could be that you have a secondary layer to define your company types to account type as well. And I can then make a full search on customers of a particular type. This one here, Abbey Retail, has a little crown against it. That means it's a key account. And just from this screen, I could create, because this is where we are, we're in Sage, I can create a new quotation, a new pro forma, a new sales order, a sales return. These aren't Sicon screens, these are Sage screens, but it just means that my CRM user has one version of the truth, single place for them to go. I can even use this little feature down here, which is to right click on the little icon. I don't even have to have Sage active on the screen to be able to go in and find a company, find a person, find a case, create a new company, new person, new case. The one I particularly like is the new task, because creating a new task isn't necessarily about scheduling things for the future. There's an element of creating tasks that have already happened or about to happen. So if a customer rings up and I just want to store the fact that that's taken place, it's called a quick task. Rather than creating a brand new task to schedule for the future, I'm creating an event having taken place today. So it's a completed task. I did take a phone call. I did send an email. I did respond to a letter. That type of thing is, again, more than possible. You'll also see there that I can see my most recent activity. So we see our task test for Gary appearing in here, our Abbey Retail account, task follow-ups, opportunity follow-ups. So my recent activity as the user that I am as I'm logged in. There's also a lovely little utility in here called the email drop panel. The email drop panel is a little filing cabinet that will position itself over your Outlook client so that you can file emails away. If you are doing this, and if I just open up Outlook just to show you, that kind of sits over there. So that's my filing cabinet. That's I want to store that. We've made a deliberate decision at this point in time not to do automatic filing of emails that come in. The integration is that we don't want the extra noise. We actually want the real things which mean something to us and those things that we do want to store. So when we pick up an email or pick up an attachment, we can literally drag it into here. That'll turn into a little plus sign. If it recognizes the email address, it will be able to identify either the person or the company, which it has. It can't go any further for me at this point in time because it doesn't actually recognize the person from the email address. So I can select my person. I can also select whether or not this particular communication relates to a case or to an opportunity or to a task. So I can then file that away accordingly. If it doesn't recognize any of the data, I can then select the company, select the person, select the case, select the opportunity. So I can store it at any level: company, person, case, opportunity, or task. So emails in, emails out, your choice over what you store. What it does do, however, is it creates an activity for me against this particular account. So when we look at Abbey Retail, we're going to be able to see the most recent activities, because that's the first thing I want to see when I'm speaking to a customer. And I can see yesterday there was a few tasks, some that were completed, some that were added. On the 4th of March, there was another task here. On the 18th of November, there was an on-site meeting. On the 18th of November, there was an opportunity created for a number of different products. So that's my single holistic view of everything that's going on. That's my company. And in my company, as you can see, I have all of the standard Sage things that you would have. So everything from the sales ledger account, they're a customer, so therefore they're a sales ledger account. Everything from there, all I did there, guys, was actually hit the edit button so that I actually go in and actually show you some of the key features as well. And one of those is this little link button. So that one tells me automatically that this Abbey Retail account is actually a sales ledger account, and that's information from the sales ledger account. These are hyperlinks, so if I click on that, that will open up the website. If I click on that, it'll open up my Outlook client. So providing you with an extra layer of functionality will allow me to then say, well, this account belongs to Harry. And that account field will also appear against your sales order form, because then I want to see how much is Harry's pipeline worth, how much is Harry's forecast worth, how much is Harry's order book worth, and how much business has Harry brought in. If we can assign accounts to an account manager, we can then monitor how much we need to pay them by way of commission. We can monitor how well they're doing. So all of those things drive other things, and that is a feature that is then available for me in here, as you can see, where we've got our list of sales orders. Obviously, they're all specific to Abbey Retail because that's the environment that we're in. We can see all of the tasks that relate to Abbey Retail, those that are scheduled that need to happen, those that are in the past. If you are a team leader, you'll be able to see who's got what and why and when and whether or not they've done it. Same with our cases. Likewise, with our opportunity management, you can see a list of opportunities related to this particular customer. And then I can manage opportunities by themselves. So a list of opportunities across the board. Email communications that have come in, email communications that have gone out, any attachments that we add, our memos, our GDPR information. Marking it as being marketing opt-out can be done at header level or at individual level, so at person level as well. We can create a linked companies view so that I can see my sister companies, my subsidiaries, my end users, all related to a single customer. If the detail is there and the links are made, we can, of course, then capitalize on that from a reporting perspective. We've also got some integration into our contracts module as well, guys. So if you are using, or if any of your customers are using contracts, then we can also display the contracts in here as well, if applicable. So now that we kind of understand what that looks like, we can also add a layer of complexity to that particular customer or that particular prospect or that particular supplier, so that we can put some custom fields in. What are they interested in? What's their status? So you can actually have multiple analysis codes, multiple custom fields, and all of those become available from a searching perspective when I'm looking for a group of customers. From here, I can create a new opportunity, new task, new case. I can do that in various different ways across the board, lots of different places to do that. Everything that we've done has a change history, as you can see. Everything that we have done also has activities. And now that we understand well how much data that we're storing inside of Sage, we can then see how we can access that outside of Sage. But one more thing just before we go. In the accounts, as you can see, there is an account level that's looking at the sales ledger. Then we've got our last 11 years worth of turnover. And if we quickly look at a year, that will then change what I'm seeing over here so that I can actually see my turnover by year, turnover by period for the specific year that I'm looking at. And then underneath that, I can look at the quotes, the pro formas, the sales orders, all of which we get a little hot link to so that we can actually open up the sales order, create a task, go back. This one I particularly like, which is the ability for you to be able to see that at sales order line item level, because I can then group together all of the sales order line items to see how many times this particular customer has brought sausages from us. And of course, all of these forms are exportable out to Excel in exactly the same way as you would have inside of Sage. And it just means that you've got that extra layer of grouping things together. If this was a prospect customer, it would also give me the opportunity to be able to go in and convert it from being a prospect to a live account, capitalizing on all of the information that I may have stored against my prospect. But I'm just very quickly just going to pop myself in here, and we're just going to create a new task for these guys at Abbey Retail. And again, we'll have our test for Chris this time. And we'll say that we need to speak to Susan Boyle. So we want to be able to schedule a phone call for Michelle to be able to follow it up with a priority of normal. Like I say, there is a workflow for this as well, should you wish to adopt it. For me, I've switched my workflows off. I'm just going to go in here and set the date or time on this one to be 2 o'clock this afternoon. I'll have no reminder. But again, if I'm Michelle creating the task, I might want to be able to create the task for an alternative employee, and potentially that alternative employee isn't a Sage user. I'm just going to say save to that. And as you'll see, as we save out of this screen, if we look back at Abbey Retail, that will have created for me a new activity in my activity form. So that tab pretty much shows me the last action. So anybody else now looking at Abbey Retail can see that Michelle spoke to them last. Okay, so we're going to come out of here and we're going to see that in relation to what we do from a mobile perspective. So if I go back in here, so on the mobile, as you can see, it's nicely scaled so that we can actually use it while we are on the road. I've got my home, my companies, my people, my opportunities. We've also got the concept of tenders, but then our tasks and our cases. And you can see in here that my user can see the number of opportunities that they're working on, the number of tasks assigned to them, the number of cases assigned to them. As a non-Sage user, I could even, without going into opportunities or anything else, I can simply go in and look at my quotes and orders. I can create a new quote, create a new sales order. I can see the live position inside of Sage. These are my existing sales orders live from Sage. If I want to go in and view one, I can. I can go to the order, go to the company, create a case on it, create a task on it. Really quick and simple for your guys out on the road to be able to go in and see all of that data in one simple way. Okay, so exactly the same principle. Okay, I am Michelle, I'm logged in as Michelle. I'm accessing it just via my browser, just via a Wi-Fi connection. So I could literally be from anywhere at any time. If I go into my companies and search my companies, you'll see in here that I'm already defaulting to Abbey Retail, so I can search for my companies. But if we just open up Abbey Retail, this is what I wanted you to see, which is, of course, the most recent activity that we did inside of Sage, depicted for me as the non-Sage user. All of these things could be permissions based. I have access as the non-Sage user using the browser to be able to see all of the tasks. I also have access to all of the cases and the opportunities that relate to Abbey Retail, but I equally have the opportunity to be able to manage my opportunities. So when I go in and search for my opportunities, that will show me my forecast per month. This is very specific to me as a user, unless you're a team manager. And then potentially you might want to be able to see everybody that's in your team. So the concepts of dashboards really start playing a huge part for us as we move forward. We already have inside of CRM 10 dashboards, which are kind of out of the box, and then you can create your own dashboards. They're just SQL queries. And I say just SQL queries, but the power of those are actually quite significant when you look at what somebody wants to get out of a CRM solution from a reporting perspective. So if we look at this back inside of Sage, so again, I could create a new opportunity here. I could equally, because it's completely live to Sage, if I go back into my Abbey Retail and we look at the actions, I particularly like this one. I don't want to create a quote for my customer. The customer just wants to know how much is a kettle. He doesn't necessarily want a quote, but I'm not in the office. I don't need to ring the office. All I really need to do is to do a quick price inquiry. Select my stock item, completely integrated into Sage. That's my live stock position. Select my item that I want to be able to get a price on, my kettle and the selling unit, and fetch the price from Sage. Fetching the price from Sage is related to the customer. So if there is a book price for that customer, that is the price which we are going to be presenting back here. So a quick price inquiry is pretty cool. Again, your change history is also visible, so we can see who did what and why and when. My activity tab also gives me the opportunity to be able to go in and look at that activity to view it or edit it. And again, we're just going to pop ourselves back into Sage just so that you can see what opportunity management does for us inside of Sage. So very similar to what we looked at on the browser, but if I just pop myself back in, remembering that sales is a big important thing for anybody that wants CRM. If I go back into my opportunity search here, again, filtered by who I am potentially, or for my entire team, depending on the access rights that you have to it, you'll see that we have a number of different opportunities that I am working on. 53 opportunities with an average probability of 49.34%, with an average forecast value of £35,000, with an average opportunity value of £58,000. The detail that you need from a sales perspective. From a reporting perspective, I can see my forecast, I can see my team forecast spread across the year. You can create an environment where you've got the individual's target so that you can compare where you are to target. You'll get opportunities in blue, you'll get orders in red, you'll get invoices in green. That's your difference between your opportunity pipeline forecast and your actual order book, real sales orders inside of Sage, and those sales orders which have actually now converted to sales invoices. So for me, when I look at this internally inside of Sicon, I want to be able to see there's nothing blue in the past, because everything that we're doing is blue in the future. It's opportunities that we're working on in the future. So everything that's in the past should be green, maybe a little bit of red if it really hasn't gone to invoice yet, but everything in the past should be green. And I can compare that to my target overall. Everything in the future should be blue, and everything in the short-term future should be blue with a bit of red and maybe a bit of green. So when I'm working within a particular month, I can actually see exactly where we are at any point in time. And the difference is that that isn't just looking at opportunities. That's looking at your live Sage position from a sales order and sales invoice perspective. And again, opportunity management means that I can go in and I can create an opportunity. This particular one, as you can see, enables me to, again, we're just going to do it for Abbey Retail. I'm going to say that they want lots of ERP software. It's Abbey Retail who is the prospect. From an opportunity perspective, whether they're an existing sales ledger account or a prospect account, doesn't matter either way. We're going to choose the person that we're speaking to. And there, as you can probably see, that stage is currently grayed out. That's because I've got a little workflow switched on. So it's going to lead me through the process of step by step of where I go next. If you want it to, it's not compulsory. As I mentioned previously, we have some pre-configured stages and classifications out of the box, but that's up to you to design that. So for me, I've got my classifications as cold and hot and warm, but that also takes with it some probability. So 25%, 75%, 50% probabilities behind my cold, hot and warm would effectively mean that if I said I've got an opportunity that's going to potentially close by the end of March and potentially invoice by the end of March, and I say that the opportunity value is £15,000, but I say that the classification and maybe even the stage to drive this as well is warm, then it gives me a forecast value of 7,500. That's relatively basic, guys, pretty standard stuff, but all, again, more than possible using the Sicon CRM solution. However, an opportunity may be an opportunity. I can follow it through to conclusion. I can attach it to a tender. I can give it an outcome. I can follow it through its stages. We can also have these custom fields again. So I'll just expand that just so that you can actually see that I've got a couple of custom fields. So I've got a referral from and a project number. You can make them mandatory if you need to. You can create new emails and tasks and tracking notes. You can even use Sicon documents in here as well. So we're just going to create our new opportunity number 98, and then we're going to start managing that opportunity. If we just find all of my opportunities, opportunity number 98 is there for me to be able to see. Again, we can click on that in here. Again, we're going to have the facility to be able to see that opportunity as the non-Sage user and add our own information to it if applicable. So if we just go and search for the opportunities, there's opportunity number 98. No smoke and mirrors, my opportunity value, my forecast value, one single place. I'm just going to go in here and look at my opportunity. In the actions, again, quick price inquiry, new task. The quick tasks, as I mentioned right at the very beginning, are the I've just done this. I'm not scheduling it for the future. My quick task is I've just taken a phone call. I've just done a letter. So it's an event having taken place that you need to be able to share with somebody else. And it's super quick and super easy. For me, however, on this particular opportunity, what I want to do as the non-Sage user is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to create myself a new quote or a new sales order. So you'll be able to create quotes and create orders from this environment so that we can then see that information back inside of Sage. No smoke and mirrors with it. It really is as live as you need it to be. We're just going to pop ourselves back into Sage. We now have opportunity, remember, 98. If I go back into my opportunity search one more time, and we look at opportunity number 98, you'll see time and date stamp. My opportunity now created. We're simply going to be able to go in here and see again the details, the analysis, the people, the task, anything that relates to this particular opportunity. Yet still, I cannot manually select the stage to move it forward because that is because I have a workflow switched on. In here, therefore, I'm going to have to go in and tell the system that I've reached the next stage. That's what this little bit down here is telling me. So the next stage that I would go to is negotiating. And in order for me to get to the stage of I've moved this opportunity from here to here, I have a dependency that says you must have created a task. So again, who else we choose? Let's choose test for Nathan in here. And we're going to set a task for next week for Harry to follow this up with a phone call. And that will then allow me to create the task and move my opportunity on to the next level. So if we now go back in and find again, you'll see that my stage has now changed automatically to negotiating. We've moved along the bus. The complexity of what you want to be able to achieve with that can get even more complicated than what I've done in here, guys. If you have a look at my workflow setup, you'll see that I've done something very, very basic. So I've got my project stages. If I just go in and edit that, you'll see how I've set that up. So I've said that we go from being lead to negotiating to order in progress. That's my workflow. Behind each of these stages, I may have actions. So between your transitions, you'll have actions. And that's where I've told the system that a task should be created. If we look at our new actions, this is things like a particular field needs to be set. So you might say a date field needs to be changed in order for it to be able to move from negotiating to order placed. It may be that we want to automatically send an email or physically send an email or add a tracking note or add a memo. The whole purpose of Sicon CRM is so that you have one single place for you to be able to see all of the information that you would have inside of Sage, but then to be able to transact outside of Sage if you don't have a Sage license, but also for you to be able to see that single holistic view of everything that's going on with your customer or even with your supplier, and manage your prospects all the way through to closure. If we very quickly just open up sales order processing, standard Sage, I don't need to go through the CRM screens for us to be able to see those CRM tasks and CRM cases. If we open up any one of these or create a new one, you'll see that the CRM functionality is automatically there for me. So here, of course, is my account manager. So if we choose Abbey Retail, it knows my Abbey Retail is being managed by Harry. So that's automatically populated here with the ability for me to be able to change that. If I said, actually, this particular sales order, so this is the other way around, relates to an opportunity, I can see all of the opportunities for Abbey Retail which are currently being worked on. So that link to opportunity number 98 can be established at this point. Likewise, I can do it the other way around. But I don't have to be in the CRM screens. I can be in the core Sage screens and using the CRM functionality accordingly. When we do update that sales order or quotation, it'll ask me whether or not I want to update the CRM record or the CRM opportunity to that. And if here, as you can see, against my super duper Sicon umbrella, if I just open up that stock record, we can actually see the Sicon CRM tasks and cases tabs are visible for us. And again, I can go in and create a new case or a new task accordingly.